So let's suppose we want to continue building out our frequency distribution, and suppose that we want to find relative frequency. So relative frequency should be pretty easy in the sense that it is the relation of how much data is in a particular bin or a class divided by the total number of data values. So for example, this is 5 out of 25 data values in this class, so I'm going to say equals this divided by the total value, this divided by, I gotta hit the divide by, the total value and hit enter. So it'll give me that percentage. You know, I could format to a particular decimal value if I want. Okay, so there's my relative frequency. Now again, I could drag and drop here, but I'm going to end up with, when I drag here, it's looking to the left, and then it's looking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down, and it's looking blank. So again, what I really should do for this definition is I want it to be relational to the left, but I don't want this to move. So the I9, right, I want to be fixated, so I'll put the dollar signs there, and it'll fixate on this cell. That cell will never move. All the others will be relational. Okay. Now keep in mind, this sum should be 100% of data, so I should get a 1 out of that summation there, and I do. Right, there's my 1. Okay. And I don't really like how all of this is looking. I want to center all of these things. Let me center everything there. All right? And then, you know, suppose I want to do cumulative frequency. Then let me double click here and open that up. Right? So the cumulative frequency should be pretty easy, right? So here I'm going to basically be looking at the first end of the first class. There's that value. And then this cell is going to be the sum of these two values, right? So I'm going to have the sum of these two values. And there's my cumulative frequency, right? And that should continue. So I could continue to define the sum of those two, right? Or, you know, I can get creative and I can add these together with this. A couple different ways to do that, right? So the 14 plus the next 5 would give me that frequency, right? Excuse me, I said that wrong. The 9 plus, so this is cumulative. It's this 5 and this 4, right? And then I'm going to add this next guy to it, right? Now again, this is all relational. So I want this cell to be, I want this cell to be the one above, add the next 5. So there's no need for dollar signs here, right? I always want it to be relational above and relational to the left. Okay, and there's our cumulative frequency. All right? So now let's suppose we want to do the graph. All right? So I want to do the graph of, let's say, the frequency. Okay. Now I personally would like to have the midpoint. So let me do this here. I'm going to click on this column, and then I'm going to come up and I'm going to insert a column, or I can right click. I'm going to right click and I'm going to insert an entire column there, and I want the midpoint. Okay. I like to personally graph the midpoint. I think it gets cluttered if you don't use the midpoint. And I can show you what that's going to look like here. So think about what the midpoint is, right? The midpoint is the average of these two values here. So I'm going to hit equal, and I'm going to put in parentheses this number plus this number and divide by 2 and find their average. Okay. Again, this is a relational definition. I want this to be the 2 to the left and sum them up and add, divide by 2. So here are all of my midpoints here. Okay. Now, I should be able to graph this and this. Right, so I am going to, oops, that's not what I want to do, sorry. I'm going to highlight all of that data, and I'm going to insert a chart, right, or a graph. And it's been a while since I've done this, so bear with me for a second as I play around here. So I'm going to do a 2D column graph. Now it should assume, all right, and look, here's what it does. It reverts these two for me. I don't know why it does that. So what I should be able to do, I think I can click on the actual plots, and I should be able to right click and select data. See if that's what that is. Switch row and column. Let's see if that'll do what oops, look at that. That looks weird. That's not what I want. Right? Let me select the data. So let's see. So I'm not sure what it's calling series 1. So let's start over from the beginning here. So my chart data range are these right here. That's really what I want. So I want this right here to be these guys. That's really what I want. Okay, so let me delete all of that out there. So I can actually click this, all right, and it will allow me to select just those guys. I believe that's doing that right, isn't it? So let's see. We're going from J3 to J8. J3 to J8. So that looks good. All right. Now, my horizontal axis, I can have labels. So I should be able to. So see, here's the labels here. So the labels it took as the frequencies. But what I want the labels to be are the midpoints. So that should give me, and there we go. There's all of my labels on my horizontal axis. Much better now. Okay, so there's all of my frequencies for my frequency histogram. A couple of other things you can do here. You can change the graph. I think I can click the actual graph and right click and format the chart area. And I believe I can change like the edge, the size of it, the properties of it, and I can give it a title. So let's see. This was actually the out of state tuition, but notice I don't know if this really was originally in state. So I'm going to title this in state, and the description is this is the frequency distribution of in state tuition. Right, now that should put a title on there for me, and it's not showing me the title. Alright, so let me right click again and format chart area. No, that's the same thing. Alright, let me go back to my data set then. There's a way for me to format here. I think maybe this is it. Format. Alright, so I can have, let me pull this over to the side. So I can have the bars be separated or overlapped. I think if I put it at 0%, that's where it was. Oh, here it is right here. Here's the gap. Alright, I can put the bars right on top of each other if I want. I think that looks a little prettier personally for myself. Right? And then somewhere here is the place where I can put a title. Alright, you know what? My suggestion, so I don't waste any more video time here, is go to the help feature. Right? So we could go, where is it at? Review, data, formulas, home. There's a help feature here in Excel. Alright, the help feature is right here under File tab, and I can go to help, and I can just search for frequency histograms, okay, and find out how to. I really should have a title up here. I really should have a labeling down here, call it midpoint. I really should have a labeling over here called frequency, and I will let you figure those out. Do a search on YouTube or do a search in the help feature here.